Welcome and Happy New Year. I guess I can still get by with that since we're not quite halfway through January. As we share this first midweek connection with you in the new year, I want to share a very brief hymn story with you, a little bit about the background of the hymn, Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah. You'll find it on pages 78 and 79, I believe, in our Rejoice hymnal. But the hymn was written in 1745 by a fellow by the name of William Williams. Williams was born in 1717 and he passed away in 1791. And the account that I share with you today comes from this book. It's a great little book entitled 40 Favorite Hymns on the Christian Life, a closer look at their spiritual and poetic meaning, and it's written by a fellow by the name of Leland Ryken. And according to Ryken, this hymn is as much a national hymn of Wales as Abide With Me is of England. Its author, William Williams, is considered by some to be the father of Welsh hymnody, as Isaac Watts is of English hymnody. Known informally as the Welsh Rugby Hymn, this hymn is sung by the crowd at rugby matches in Wales, especially those involving the national rugby team. It's been sung at royal weddings of the Prince of Wales family, and it was sung at Princess Diana's funeral. Welsh coal miners have sung it while going down in the mines. Martin Lloyd-Jones considered the author the best hymn writer ever. Originally written in Welsh, this poetic hymn was translated into English in its familiar form by Peter Williams, who is no relation to the author, in 1771. And for a very good reason, this poem is predictably included in anthologies of the Bible in literature. It is built entirely around biblical material, preeminently the story of the Exodus and the 40-year wandering in the wilderness. So we find allusions to manna, bread of heaven, the pillar of fire that guided the Israelites by night and the pillar of cloud that led them by day, the water that flowed from a rock, the crossing of the Jordan River, and entry into the promised land of Canaan. But these striking allusions are only the foundation on which further poetic brilliance rests. The allusions are transmuted into metaphors that apply universally, not simply to Old Testament Israel. The wandering through the wilderness becomes the universal pilgrimage through life. The epithet, bread of heaven, refers not only to manna, but to Jesus, who declared himself the true bread of heaven in John 6:32. The flowing water refers not only to the water miracles of the Exodus, but also to the crystal healing stream flowing from God's heavenly throne, as we find in Revelation 22, verses 1 and 2. The Jordan River is the symbolic river of death, and crossing it leads metaphorically to the Canaan of heaven. The evocative epithet, Death of Death, is another poetic triumph. William Williams is almost as well known as a poet as he is a hymn writer, so it's entirely possible that he intended an allusion to the concluding words of John Donne's famous sonnet on immortality, Death Shall Not Die. Even more likely, Williams, a Calvinistic Methodist, borrowed the words from the title of a Puritan classic, John Owen's The Death of Death and the Death of Christ. The theme of this poem is the power of God to provide for human needs. Based on that premise, the entire poem is a prayer addressed directly to God. Each of the 3 stanzas includes a reference to God's role as guide on a journey. But the poem is not built around that provision only. There are also references to the archetypical needs of food, drink, deliverance, strength, and companionship at the time of one's death. The speaker in the poem, and we with him, prays from a stance of being weak, needy, and fearful of death. Set over against human weakness are evocative epithets for God. We see the great Jehovah, the bread of heaven, strong deliverer, strength and shield, death of death, and hell's destruction. We find that this poem is built on key events of the Old Testament Exodus. In a similar manner, Psalm 105 rehearses the events of Old Testament history. And the following is an excerpt from that rehearsal. And it comes from Psalm 105, verses 39 through 41, and also verse 43. He spread a cloud for a covering, and fire to give light by night. They asked, and he brought quail, and gave them bread from heaven in abundance. He opened the rock, and water gushed out. It flowed through the desert like a river. Verse 43 says, so he brought his people out with joy, his chosen ones with singing. And as we come to a close of this particular hymn story, I want to read the first stanza as we face this new year. May this be our prayer. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Feed me till I want no more. May God guide us into and through this new year so that we might be sensitive to the Holy Spirit's leading, that we might be willing for God to use us wherever He chooses. May we honor Him in the way we face and deal with another year for His glory. God bless you. It's our prayer that these midweek connections are a blessing to you. If you have any questions about the church here or any of the ministries of Porter Free Will Baptist Church, please reach out to us at hello@Porter.Church. God bless you.